In our last episode, we were talking about some of the mechanics of the moon cycle. So, just very generally, how do we work with the cycles of the moon, regardless of what sign it's in? What does it mean when it's a new moon or a full moon, a first quarter moon or a last quarter moon? How is it that knowing those things can actually help us kind of map out our lives, our energy, making sure that we're having rhythms and a cadence that includes time for both action and rest? I love getting really clear on where the moon is at in our chart because this tells us a lot about what our core needs are, what we need to feel safe, what we need to feel secure, what we need to feel successful. So when you think about work, what might feel successful to one person is going to be very different to how success feels for another person. And a lot of that is based on where the moon is at in your chart, where it was when you were born. We're going to go into what that looks like in each of the signs. I want to go just into a little bit more of the mechanics of the way that the moon works. So, most people know what their sun sign is. That changes signs about every 29 days. So, if you were born on a certain day, regardless of the year, regardless of the time, your sun sign is based on that day. So, anybody born on that day is going to have the same exact sun sign as you. That doesn't change. And that's that 29 ish day cycle. The moon changes signs every like 2.5 days. So as we go through one sun cycle of about 29 days, the moon is changing and going through every single one of the signs during that cycle. So I think that's helpful to know because this gives us a much deeper layer of nuance than our sun sign can give us. So a lot of times somebody might come to a reading and say, well, I'm an Aquarius or I'm a Taurus or I'm a Gemini, but that doesn't feel like it 100% explains me. Some of it does, some of it doesn't. That's because our charts are made up of so much more than where the sun is. And a lot of it, our next big step is the moon. Where was the moon when you were born? So let's talk through what that means. In terms of the zodiac wheel, we always start with Aries. So we're going to start there. That's the very first sign of the zodiac. If the moon was in Aries when you were born, and let me pause for a second. If you don't know where the moon was when you were born, I want you to go to mosttrueyou.com/guide, mosttrueyou.com/guide, and I'll put that in the show notes. From there, you can download a guidebook that is going to walk you through step by step how to find your birth chart, how to find your sun, moon, and rising sign, and what each of those means. So if you haven't done that and you're listening to the podcast or watching the video, take a minute, pause, and go do that. That way you can kind of follow along. And one thing that's really cool is once you know those signs, what I tell you about your moon is going to, on some level, apply to your sun and your rising sign as well. It's not the same because they have different significators in our lives, but the energies are going to apply. So think about this for your sun sign, think about this for your moon, and think about this for your rising. But with our moon, again, we're really getting at our core needs. And the core need comes from a book that I love by Demetra George called Astrology and the Authentic Self. It's actually about reading charts for other people as well as your own. It's a pretty technical book, so it's not necessarily one that I recommend for someone who's just getting into astrology, but I want to give a shout out to that resource because that's where this core need comes from. If your moon is in Aries, you have a need to be independent and to develop self awareness. Aries is very much about the self. It's about not necessarily relying on others because you're so instinctual. Aries is a fire sign, it's that spark that gets a fire going. You live through action and you need momentum. You need to be constantly taking action on things. You need to be able to act boldly and not have to wait for permission. And that can be tough when you're at work or even at home where maybe you need permission, maybe it's not permission, but you need consent or you need to cooperate with others. This can be tough. And so you need to make sure that you have times where you get to just act on instinct because you you can be impulsive and you are instinctual. And so recognizing when you're being impulsive versus when you're being instinctual and recognizing when your impulse is instinct, which is not a bad thing. being able to take action on that, but then also going, okay, not everybody's as comfortable with just jumping right in as I am. Some people need to analyze or to talk through or to feel through whatever is going on. That will help you a lot in that self awareness to know when you are going on instinct and the awareness of others. What are they doing and what do they need? If your moon is in Taurus, your core need is to be resourceful and get productive results. You want to produce something. You feel really nourished through routines, through comfort. Stability is how you bloom. You need stability in your life. And so there can be that, like, every one of us, whatever our moon sign is, we can beat ourselves up for it. For Taurus, what I want you to kind of reframe is my need for security is sacred, not selfish. It is not selfish to need security and stability. And not everyone has that same need that you have. So, kind of being able to balance those two things is really important. If your moon is in Gemini, your core need is to communicate and make mental contact with others. That mental play is really important for you with your moon in Gemini. You are going to be lit up by conversations, by learning. You're curious. You need mental movement. For you, processing out loud is how you find your peace. So, giving yourself permission to process out loud, finding those people who want to process out loud with you is really, really important for that sense of stability and security. If your moon is in Cancer, this is where the moon feels most at home. This is her home sign is Cancer. You have a need to give and receive emotional warmth and security. That's really important for you. Cancer is a very nurturing sign. You need emotional safety and sacred space where you can retreat. Think about the crab. Cancer's a water sign, and it's that water kind of on the edge of the beach. The crab carries its home with it so that it can retreat at any moment. You need that sense of retreat. Sensitivity for you is not a bad thing, it is your source of wisdom. So being sensitive, a lot of people with their moon or other strong signs and or placements in Cancer can feel like they're too sensitive, but for you, that sensitivity is a form of wisdom. That's really important for you to know. Moon in Leo. Leo's another fire sign. And you have a need for creative expression and appreciation by others. And this is one that, especially for those who only have their moon and nothing else in Leo, can sometimes feel like, I don't know that I need to be appreciated by others. It might look a little bit different than the stereotypical Leo energy that, we say Leo wants the spotlight, Leo likes to be the center of attention. It's not necessarily that. And what I have found is for most people with strong Leo placements, I don't know about most, for a lot of people with strong Leo placements, that need for the spotlight is not necessarily it. It's more of the appreciation by others. Think of a campfire where you're gathering people, your warmth is encouraging them to maybe commune together, to talk together, to be together around your warmth. That is very Leo energy. You shine when your passions are seen and celebrated, and your joy is a form of medicine, both for yourself and others. And that's something that I want you to give yourself permission that you are not too much. You are meant to be seen. If your sun, your moon, or your rising sign is in Leo, you are meant to be seen. And if you have learned to not be seen, unlearning that is going to be really, really important for you. And I want to back up because I realized that I didn't give the elements for Taurus and Gemini. So Aries is a fire sign. It's that spark that gets a fire going. Taurus is an earth sign. And I like to think of outside of our house, we live up on a little hill, and there's this beautiful green pasture with a creek that runs by it. And if we had cows, we don't, our neighbors have horses down there, but if we had cows, you would think of the bull grazing in the grass by the creek. It's that very calm, very serene, and very powerful. The symbol for Taurus is a bull. So thinking about that need for both the serenity and peace and the power, that's that productivity there. Gemini is an air sign. So Air is associated with how we think. That's why we talk about Gemini needing that mental play. It's an air sign. It's very much summer air, right? In the northern hemisphere, Gemini is we're heading into summer when it's Gemini season. So it's an air sign. It wants to play. It wants to be around other people, but it not in the same way that Leo does. It wants to be talking and exchanging ideas, whereas Leo wants to be around other people and be seen and appreciated for who they are and what they do. Okay, moving into Virgo. Virgo is another earth sign where Taurus is thinking about the field of grass with the creek running through it. It's a little bit wild, it's a little bit unkempt sometimes. Virgo is that very well curated farm field where you've got rows of something growing, and in between, if it has been well kept, it's going to be weeded out. We're going to make sure that whatever's we're growing is being nourished and that there's not weeds in between sucking up that nourishment, taking away from what we're trying to grow. That is the earth energy of Virgo. It is curated, it is organized, it is purposeful and intentional. You are on a mission and you are going to do it, and you're going to do it well. Virgo really needs to function efficiently and to analyze, right? Virgo looks at something very quickly, can analyze, figure out how to improve it, figure out how to make it efficient. You need to be in positions in your life, whether that's living and or working, where you can bring efficiency to and order to the world around you. Your discernment is a gift, and you don't have to fix everything. You can see all the things that need to be fixed, but allowing yourself to see that actual like going out and fixing of something, that is a gift to be given, and being discerning about that gift, who and when you give that, is really, really important for you. So I want you to think about that, my Moon and Virgo people. Moon in Libra. Libra is another air sign. It's a little bit different though. Libra is very much so where Gemini is the summer air sign, Libra is fall in the northern hemisphere. Things are starting to cool off. It's starting to feel better to be outside. You might get the like cool breezes, warm afternoons, but it's very peaceful. There's just a strong desire to be in Libra air. Libra is a peaceful sign. You have a need to relate well to others, to create harmony, and to experience beauty. Beauty is really important because it is how you create harmony is through beauty. So people who have, I am Libra rising, my rising sign is in Libra. Those who have Libra sun, moon, or rising probably have a very strong sense of beauty. For me, I will literally buy things because of how they look. I buy books based on their cover. I buy wine based on the label, right? I have I love my beautiful cups. These things that just bring me joy because of the beauty of them. That is a very Libra energy. You are going to feel most at peace when your life and your relationships feel balanced. The thing with that is we try to balance that by controlling our ability to please others. And that is not the thing for us to do. So if your moon is in Libra or your sun or your rising sign is in Libra, I want you to think about the fact that harmony and balance have to include you. You do not have to overgive in order to be loved. That's an out of balance thing. For those with their moon in Libra, you're probably so used to making everybody else happy and giving 90% toward that and only asking for 10% or even less for yourself. And so if that is you, asking for 20% or 30% or even 40% is going to feel like you're asking for too much. And so I want you to practice this idea that harmony includes you, balance includes you and your needs. That is a huge thing for those with their moon in Libra, that you've got to not only be making everybody else happy, but ensuring that your needs and your peace and your joy is being met. Moon in Scorpio. Scorpio is a water sign, but it's very different from the Cancer water. Cancer water is the beach. The tide is coming and going. There's waves that are coming and going. Scorpio is the depths of the ocean. It can be dark. Not everybody is comfortable with the depths that our Scorpio folks like to go to. But there's also a peace in that, right? Think about the beach when there's storms, the beach is getting battered by those emotional storms. Scorpio down in the depths is not touched by those storms. The depth is the depth no matter what is going on above it. So there's a little bit of peace that can be found there. For you, you need depth and intimacy in your relationships and in your work. You need to be able to see and bring about emotional transformations with people. If that is not happening, you're probably not feeling like you belong in that relationship or in that job. You want to see transformation happening. You need truth, not fluff. When you can explore the emotional depths safely, you thrive. And that has got to include not only other people's emotional depths, but your own as well. So I want you to think about that if you've got a moon in Scorpio. Where can you be exploring your own emotional depths? I love oracle cards for this. That's going to be that's a whole other podcast episode, but thinking about using oracle cards to safely explore your own depths is really a cool thing to do. And for you, your intensity is insight. That is something that most people do not have. One, the level of depth and intensity that you have. Two, the level of insight that you have because of it. Your BS meter is off the hook. Like you are so good at spotting BS because of this deep need for truth. And I want you to see that as a gift and as insight and trust that because it's a very intuitive thing. Most water placements tend to be very intuitive. It is not a flaw. Your intensity is not a flaw, it is insight. Moon in Sagittarius is next. Sagittarius is another fire sign. Aries is the spark that gets a fire going. Leo is the campfire that gathers others around it to appreciate its warmth. Sagittarius is the fire of one torch flame being passed on to another. Sagittarius loves to learn, loves to teach, loves to explore. You need the ability to explore things, both mentally and spiritually. That's really important for you. You can easily feel trapped or bored, and that's a good sign that your needs are not being met. You are fed by freedom and vision by being able to see something that's next and going for it yourself. You're not somebody who is going to go, okay, I want to go explore this new place. So I'm going to have someone set the itinerary for me. You are going to go and you are going to set the itinerary, and you're probably going to do it as you're walking through whatever city or new place that you're in because you love that freedom of exploration. And for you, freedom is not indulgent and it's not selfish, it is essential. You have to be given the freedom to explore for yourself in order to feel safe and successful. If your moon is in Sagittarius, if your sun or your rising sign is in Sagittarius, that need and drive and desire for freedom, or that in the example of your rising sign, kind of the filter of looking at everything through how can I explore this? How can I learn this? How can I teach this? That is like quintessential Sagittarius to me. So, thinking about that with your moon in Sagittarius, you need freedom and exploration. Give yourself that and make sure that you've got that, especially when you think about at work. Are you in a place where you get to explore, or are you being told what to do all the time? If you are in the latter of that, I want you to find ways that you can explore, right? It may not be that you change everything overnight, but there might be one little thing. Hey, I really want to learn this new thing. Is that okay? Can I go take this class? Can I pursue this certification? Maybe you do it on your own outside of work. Whatever it is, find that thing that you want to explore and go do it. Moon in Capricorn. This is me. My moon is in Capricorn. So I feel very aligned with this. I always get excited talking about it because I didn't ever really understand this part of myself until I learned about the moon sign. That's why I think the moon sign is so important because it unlocks such a key element of who we are. So if your moon is in Capricorn, you have a need for structure, you have a need for mastery to kind of master something, but you also have a need for achievement. That's a big one. So think about Capricorn is an earth sign. It's like the top of the Matterhorn is how I describe it. People who are climbing a mountain like like the Matterhorn, like K2, like Everest. Even just around me, I live near the Sierra Nevadas. Some of our mountains are 10,000 feet. You're not going to go from being at sea level up to the mountain and climb it without having done some kind of preparation. That is an achievement to be able to climb to the top of a mountain like that. That is very much moon and Capricorn energy. Is you want to climb mountains, you want to achieve things, you want structure, you need that sense of discipline. Climbing a mountain is something that requires that you go and practice and get the gear and get in shape and make sure that you can lug your pack with you while you're going. It's not something that you just do on a whim, on the spur of the moment, unless you've already been getting ready for that, right? Once you're prepared, you can go do that at the spur of the moment. But you have to prepare for that. Progress makes you feel safe. So you need to be in positions where you are able to know what your goal is, what you're working toward, and see how you're making steps toward that. Now, the thing for you is you have to also rest, and this can be hard, right? For me, it used to be I would only rest when I burned out, and then I would need a lot of time for rest. But thinking again about a mountain climber, if you're going to go to Everest and climb Mount Everest, you're going to go to a certain elevation and you're going to chill at base camp for a little while and acclimate there. And then you're going to go on to the next phase. And that's something a friend of mine shared that with me last year. And I loved it because it's so helpful to think about that you need to rest with purpose, right? You need to rest. Give it a purpose if that helps you to be able to rest and go back to the moon cycles, right? If we're working with the cycles of the moon, at the new moon, we're setting the intention, figuring out what our goal is. We're taking action toward that throughout the whole month, the whole moon cycle. And at the end, we have very intentional time for rest. So make sure that you're doing that if you've got your moon in Capricorn. Okay, moon in Aquarius. You have a need for originality and collective impact. The collective is really important for you. Some folks with a strong Aquarius placement see this play out through technology, right? Originality, technology, those things are they're very connected. When Pluto went into Aquarius for the first time in over 200 years last year, as of this recording, we saw things like ChatGPT come to the market, and it just blew everyone's minds. Nobody knew that our computers could do that. Not nobody. Most of us in the normal world did not know that. But that's that kind of technology, technological originality that we're talking about that's good for the collective or impacts the collective. Can it be bad? Absolutely. But there's been a lot of really cool things that have come about since ChatGPT and other forms of AI came about into our kind of collective consciousness and awareness and our ability to use them on the whole. Aquarius is another air sign, and following Capricorn, that's up at the peak of the mountain, this is the air that's up there at the peak of the mountain. I also think of this as like being in a hot air balloon. You can see for miles around you on a clear day. You can have that big picture view. You are visionary. You are thinking about the future. That is Aquarius. And you need to be in a role where you can do that. So at work, if you're not able to be part of those who are casting the vision for what you're doing, it doesn't even have to be for the whole company. It can be for a project, it can be for your team, but you need to be able to cast that vision. That's huge for you because that's that like air quality of being up on a mountain. This is interesting because my sun is an Aquarius. So my sun is an Aquarius, moon is in Capricorn. I need the mountains. I purposefully now live at the base of the Sierra Nevada mountains, and I can be in the Tahoe National Forest in 45 minutes or less from my house. And I am there probably on a monthly basis. I am up in the mountains where I get that air, I get that height, I get that ability to like climb and hike and do those things that I love. But it's also part of my cosmic blueprint is to be able to do that. If your moon is in Aquarius, you may feel like you are detached from what's going on here because you're so focused on the big picture, right? You're kind of separated. It's that visionary energy that if you lean into, you can say, it's not that I'm detached, it's that I'm visionary. I don't necessarily have the emotional qualities that somebody with their sun or moon or rising in Cancer is going to have. Now, if you have a strong placement there, you might have it. But if you don't, you may not be a very emotional person, and that's okay. Tap into that vision more than the emotion. If your moon is in Pisces, you have a need to dream and feel and dissolve boundaries. I love that last part because Pisces is a water sign. We had Cancer is the beach, Scorpio's the depths. Pisces is, I think of one of the Great Lakes. It's not necessarily the ocean, but when you are out there, or even if you're on the edge of one of the Great Lakes and you're looking out, you cannot see the other side. That boundary is not visible. That is Pisces. I like to think of also like Virgo, right? Virgo wants all their ducks in a row. Pisces is just happy that the ducks are out floating on the water. I think of jellyfish with Pisces, that kind of just going with the flow. That is Pisces. All right, you need to feel, you need to dream, you need to dissolve boundaries. You are incredibly intuitive. You need softness and space and soul. You need spirit. Things that are mystical, spiritual, those are really important for you. So for you, especially if you don't have a strong earth placement or another placement that might bring some boundaries into your life, if you have a lot of water or a lot of water and air, you are very much a go with the flow kind of a person, and your flow is sacred. Trust that, because by you allowing yourself to flow more, your needs are going to be met, and it's going to be a lot easier to do the other things that you want. You are a dreamer, and you need to be in positions where you are allowed to dream. And if you're not there right now, set some time for yourself. Maybe it's during your lunch break. Maybe it's just, you just set a 10 minutes of, I'm just going to sit back and just let my mind wander. That can be Pisces. That can fill a little bit of that need that you have. Okay, do you see how knowing your moon sign can really start to unlock new things within you? I think it's really cool. For me, again, learning about my Capricorn moon, it just gave me permission to go, oh, it's not that I'm always discontent. That was what I had been telling myself, that, oh, why can't I just be more content with where I'm at? I need to achieve things. I need to set goals and go after those big goals and go after big things. That's huge for me. And I've got to figure out how to bring rest into that, because not everybody wants to be climbing a mountain all day, every day. I physically can't do that all day, every day. So, how do we find out what is our need? How do we meet those needs that we have? And what do those needs speak to that might be patterns, like with Capricorn, of overworking, thinking about what could be the shadow side of that? That's another conversation that we'll have. Two of my favorite resources for this, if you want to go deeper, are the book You Were Born for This by Chani Nicholas. That is my number one favorite astrology book. I'll put a link to that in the show notes. If you don't have that yet and you want to learn more about your own astrology, that is like the number one book I would recommend. The other is a book called Star Child, and that one is by a woman named Brianna Saucy, I think, Saussy. I'll also link to that. This one is actually about parenting through astrology. But what I love about it is, whether you are a parent or not, a caregiver or not, you will learn so much about yourself and why you needed what you did as a kid and why you need what you need now. So that's another one that I really love for understanding how our signs point to our deeper needs. The other resource I've already talked about is the guide that I've put together. That is a very short guide. If you order one of these books and want something for right now while you're waiting for them, I would say go to mosttrueyou.com/guide. Again, that's in the show notes, and download the guide that I've put together. These are two of the resources that I used in putting that together, but it will show you how to find your sun, moon, and rising sign, give you some ideas of what each of them mean. The other thing that I love that's in there is like a kind of a like hey, here's some things to be aware of based on these signs. And so, where we talked about Capricorn, for example, maybe lending or leaning towards overworking, there's something like that for each of the signs. So thinking about how these might be challenging in terms of their interplay with others. And when you think about work, that's where a lot of our challenges come from, is interpersonal dynamics. So highly recommend that you check that out if you haven't yet. It's really easy to go through and it's really pretty. Okay, friends, this has been so much fun. I love, for me, the moon is my most favorite of all the signs to talk about. It's my favorite one to help people look at. I do offer chart readings. So if you want someone to go deep into your chart with you, I would love to be that person. There will also be a link in the show notes for that. It's mosttrueyou.com/readings. And yeah, I love doing the chart readings. That's really fun to get to look through that with others. So happy learning about your moon day. And if you have questions, you can always contact me at hello@mosttrueyou.com.